Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm Anne Alvares, parent coach, school counselor, and mother of two. Do you sometimes struggle with your parenting role? Do you notice that sometimes you're repeating patterns that you learned in your own childhood? Maybe you are carrying childhood pain that has not been healed, and you notice that it is showing up in your parenting with your own children. Perhaps you yell or get frustrated easily. Maybe you are directing them or telling them what to do all the time, and you notice that your actions are affecting your relationship with your children. Well, parents, I totally understand this. I came from childhood pain and I learned how to be a relational parent with my children. And I can teach this to you as well. This podcast is all about learning how to heal the childhood pain that we are carrying so that we can foster healthy relationships with our kids. Join us every week for a new show, and we will dive into the healing and the fostering of healthy relationships with our children. Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I am so excited today because today we have a very special guest. Her name is Dr. Michelle Lloyd. She is a transition success coach who delivers high energy keynote presentations that challenge audiences to leverage their focus and implement strategies they can apply prior to or during their teens' transition out of the home. She mentors with passion and guides with strength while developing and encouraging mothers toward becoming their next best selves. So, Dr. Michelle, thank you so
And
much for joining us.
you're welcome, and thank you so much for inviting me. I'm elated to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Okay, I'm going to start with the first question. Did you experience any childhood pain? And if so, how did you overcome it?
Good question, and I did. I was raised in a household with an alcoholic and drug addicted father and a battered mother. And so, in that situation, it left me angry and it left me irritated. And even when I think about being the middle child of three girls, my mom had three girls, my mom and dad had three girls. And so when we think about that middle child, that's typically the middle child who receives less attention. So usually the attention is on the oldest because, of course, the parents are typically trying to steer them in the right direction. And then the attention is also on the youngest because that youngest is the baby, and we have to make sure that we take care of the baby. So, the middle child, statistics say receives the least amount of attention. So less attention, and then experiencing that abuse. I have to admit, I was angry, I was irritated, and throughout that, I'll also mention this: my mother kept us busy. So we were in Alateen to get help that we needed while she went to Al-Anon. Had piano lessons, we were in tap dance, and we were in church, a lot of church. So my mother, she did the best she could after making the decision to marry my father with what she had within the time she was given. So yes, I did experience childhood trauma, and I have to admit that I overcame it through, of course, the busyness, being occupied, of course, while I was younger. And then, of course, leaning into my relationship with Christ.
Mm,
That's the foundation of how I overcome came it. So yes.
that's amazing. That's amazing. So,
Mhm.
God's been in your life like since you were a little girl.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I'm so very grateful because we're called to know him and to make him known. Yes.
Yes, that is something that we share. I got
Mm,
through a lot of my childhood pain also because of my faith in God.
mm,
So that's
mm.
incredible. So did it take a long
So,
time to heal? Like did you have to heal like as an adult or what did you do? How did you help yourself?
oh, such a good question. Quite frankly, I think that I'm still healing.
Mm.
I did a lot of work on myself. However, I still feel as though my work is unfinished. I'm still pouring into myself. I'm still practicing lots of self-care. I am, as I make progress along the way, I think, when I think about there being an end time to my healing, really that speaks to me as though it's finished. And really, I think it's going to be finished at the very end, like when I take my last breath. So I'm working on myself. And when I think of my healing, I think of from a personal perspective, I think about, you know, my relationship with my daughters. And how there's still more time for me to pour into them, because those three daughters of mine, they are like my biggest instigators to me becoming a better person, a better
Wow.
mother, a better Christian, a better wife. I mean, they really encourage me, because I know that they're watching me, and I know that I need to be models for them. So on a personal level, I'm still healing in that way. And on a professional level, me pouring into parents who need support in reference to their teens transitioning out of the home and heading off to the college campus. Or to the military or residential interdependence. I still need to make sure that I'm here and I'm doing that, and that work has yet to be finished. And then from of course, a spiritual perspective, I know that my focus needs to be on making sure that I'm serving. For a while, I was overseeing a homeless ministry through my church and going downtown under the Pierce Elevated here in Texas, and just loving up on the homeless and taking snack packs that the youth at our church, I asked them to organize that, and so they would put together maybe about 300 or 400 snack packs, and we'd go downtown and we would spend time with the homeless and making sure that they felt loved. And so I think that when we think about, what is it taking a long time to heal? I think my healing will be, yep, all the way to the end, to be quite honest with you.
We really are in the in process. Like we're always changing and growing and getting
Mm,
better, right?
mhm.
So
I
we're
think
in the
so.
process of change, and the healing, I guess, continues, every day is an opportunity to get better and better.
You're absolutely right. And I just think, just life is one huge classroom. And
Mhm.
so we're, like you say, yeah, we're learning and we're growing and we're aspiring and excelling each and every day. And I
That's
love it.
amazing. That's
Hmm.
amazing. So, did your childhood pain show up in your parenting when your girls were small?
I have to admit that it did. My childhood pain did show up in my parenting. And although I'm under the belief that my childhood trauma, it does not define me wholeheartedly, nor does it define me fully. I noticed that those earlier experiences have shaped my beliefs about myself and then also others around me. Uh, and it has also, Anne, that's such a good question. It has helped me to avoid some parenting behaviors, because I knew that as I slipped into a parenthood, I of course planned, all of my pregnancies were planned, but as I gravitated, that's a better word, gravitated towards parenthood, I knew I needed to break some generational curses from my
Mhm.
childhood. So I found myself protective of my daughters and their innocence.
Mhm.
When I was a child, my mother, in order to take care of uh, us, she had to work multiple jobs. And so she spent a lot of time away from the home. And of course, that left us to ourselves, my sisters and I, quite a bit. So I found myself protective, yes, of my daughter's innocence. I found myself also a little bit more supportive of their endeavors. My oldest daughter, when I was at a parent teacher conference, of course, her teacher, I think it was a physics and a physics and maybe a calculus teacher. It was a teacher who taught a dual subjects. I was at a parent teacher conference, and the teacher mentioned to me how my daughter was just at the top of her class in reference to just the work she was completed. And this, to this very day, she just told me, and that was, my daughter's even out of college, but I talked with that teacher like in 2021, and she told me that she still uses my daughter's work that she submitted even to teach her classes today, which is so exciting for me. But she mentioned to me that my daughter really ought to consider engineering. And so and of course, all of my degrees and my background is in business, and so I knew very little about engineering. And I'm just going to share this short story, if you'll allow me.
Yes.
And so, thank you. So she mentioned that my daughter to go into engineering. So then that meant we needed to do some research, like what is this engineering and what are the different angles and the branches of engineering. And so once we, had a slight idea and a clue about it, then my daughter did. She embraced the notion. She embraced that opportunity. And then we started looking for colleges when she was thinking about leaning into engineering. And so she was accepted into, speaking of just supporting her endeavors, she was accepted into Virginia Tech. And there she really leaned into industrial and systems engineering. And thereafter, of course, she did her internship. She did some traveling abroad to Australia and different places to see how major corporations, how the engineers worked at those locations. And then she landed an internship as an engineer with UPS. And
Uh-huh.
after that, she was, of course, extended an offer by the company, which she did accept. But as she grew closer to graduation, then she was um, offered a position with Lockheed Martin. And so she decided to renege on UPS, and she accepted it with Lockheed, and she loves there's opportunity for growth and everything. So it's all about, just really, really supporting, of course, what it is that they're saying that they like to do. And what I found myself, when we think about supporting our teens' endeavors or our child's endeavor, it's all about analyzing and really studying our children, and
Yes.
and really paying attention to what they gravitate towards, and their conversations and what they're talking about, and then really, really capitalizing off of that to make sure that they're headed in the directions of their interest. And even scripturally, it talks about our children are like a bow, and a bow and arrow, and they ought to be gearing and shot towards, of course, those interests, which a lot of times are predestined and
Yes.
preordained by God. And so really, that's all I did. And so then my second daughter, she mentioned she said, I'm going to be a doctor. And then she sits for her MCAT next year. And so, but it's all about being supportive and helping, and, whatever help they need. I just really think that that's what we're called to do if we've been blessed with being a mother. And so that's the second way that I have to admit that, I've, you know, really leaned into my parenting. And then third, and I'll share this, and then um, we can move forward, is I think that my childhood pain as it relates to my parenting has caused me to be a little bit more sensitive as it relates to alcohol and drugs,
Mm.
because I saw firsthand how it can damage the family. And
Mhm.
at all cost, I want to make sure that it avoids damaging my family as it did my family throughout my childhood. So I
Yeah.
hope I answered your question.
Yes, that was really, really great. And I think you
Mhm,
talked a little bit already about how you gave support to your daughters. I just want to say, like, you
mhm.
have been a role model for your girls because you're so established. You know,
Mm,
you're a go-getter, you're a doctor. Like you've been the role model for your girls. And so they aspire to
thank
higher as
you.
well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so very much. I so appreciate that. And from the very beginning, listen, I've always believed in them. And I just really thought that they can just do what just they can just do anything and do whatever. And so when I think about that support, I just and believing in them from the very beginning and just believing that just the spirit within them just could take them to higher heights, just places that they could not even imagine, which it has already.
Mhm.
Whether it's socially, they have their circle of friends, and then, of course, spiritually, and then also physically. I think that, I've tried to support that as well. And even talking to them about just healthy eating and self care and all of that. And believe it or not, listen, I was obese as a child. Like I might be a size 4 now, but at a point in time, I was a size 12. And
Wow.
so, and just experiencing that and knowing that I wanted differently for my daughters. When they were growing up, I would, they would make the grocery list, and I would have them divided up into the different food groups, whether it was the meat and the veggies, and of course the dairy and the starches and all of that, and then miscellaneous for like the small snack portion.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then and then they would fill that in. And so it taught the level of independence, and it taught just an area of just healthy eating. I just thought that was important. I just thought it
Wow.
was important. And I'll share this. When I was in school, because I jumped back into school for my last degree when my youngest daughter was 1 and my oldest daughter was 10. So I had 3 daughters, 10 and under, when I jumped back into school. And many people told me, and no, don't do it. No, don't do it. It's like that's risky. And then you're married, and and so that's a lot. And so, but I did. And when I did, as opposed to it being an inevitable decision, it really worked in my benefit because I found myself in the library a lot. And along with me being in the library, as my husband worked, my daughters were in the library with me. And those grades soared. I mean, they were around books all the time, and they had the opportunity to study, and they really leaned into their academics with my oldest one and my second daughter. My third one is she's a junior in high school now, but my older 2 daughters graduated magna cum laude, and
Wow.
just have had scholarships and have graduated, you know, with great grades from college. And so it really, really, when we talk about thriving and really, pouring into our children, I mean, we really are we like we're called to model. So
Yes.
such a great word you used.
I love that. I love that so much. I really do believe that as parents, we have to live our dreams. And
Yes.
I'm like you. I went back to school when I had my first, and he was a baby. And
Oh.
it was hard. It was really hard,
Mhm,
but I have no regrets because I'm in a career that I love, right? I did
mhm,
counseling for over 15 years. If I didn't go back to school, I wouldn't have been a school counselor.
mhm,
So I do believe when we go for our dreams, it
mhm.
gives permission for our kids to go for their dreams, you
I
know.
totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Mm.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
Dr. Michelle, I want to do a recap for parents. And I also want you to tell us how where parents can find you and how they can connect with you if they need support with the transition part of their children leaving home.
Okay.
So just to recap, parents, Dr. Michelle's been so amazing. So she told us about her childhood pain. I just want to say, the childhood pain made her a better parent, which is something that I tell parents a lot. Because when you've gone through childhood pain, once you become aware, then you say, I don't want my child to experience this. I want to protect them. I want to support their endeavors. And I don't want them to have any experience with alcohol and drugs because that was my experience and it wasn't healthy. So when we take those things from our childhood pain, we can make sure that that's not happening with our children once we're aware. And that I just love how Dr. Michelle talked about the evolution of healing, that the healing is continuing always in our lives. We're continuing to get better and better and be stronger and feel better about our past. And so it's an evolution, and we don't have to worry that we one day we're healed. We don't have to be like that. We can just go with the process of the healing. So I really, really appreciate that message. Okay, Dr. Michelle, tell parents where they can find you.
Well, your listeners can find me on Instagram. Of course, I'm on all of the social medias with just TikTok and YouTube and Facebook and all of that. Yet they can find me on Instagram, Pointers for Parents. So on Instagram, I'm there. Of course, when they come there, they will also see you and they will see your great information that you just continue to pour out. And so yes, they can totally come to Pointers for Parents on Instagram and find me there, and they can DM me. And when their teens are transitioning out of the home, they can send me a message, and then I'll be sure to respond. So thank you so much for having me, and
Oh,
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. It's such a pleasure to chat with you again. I always love our chats and I really, really appreciate you coming on the show today. So parents, thank you so much. Thank you to Dr. Michelle Lloyd. She's amazing. And thank you for listening, parents. You know I love you. You know that we're here for support. So reach out if you ever need support and keep on the journey because you're doing it. You're doing it and we love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, parents, for joining the show today. I hope it was valuable and that you have some useful tools to use with your children. If this show blessed you or changed you in any way, I would appreciate a review on my podcast or subscribe to my YouTube channel, or perhaps you could even recommend our masterful parenting to your family and friends. Thank you so much, parents.